So last night I watched Martyrs 2008, not 2015. And it was the first time I'd watched, I guess, a new French extremity, but basically one of those horror films that like has an insane reputation, but not just because it's horrific, like Human Centipede or whatever, but because people are like, oh, it's like a really great story and plot and like cinema and stuff. And I am from a film background or anything like that. I'm not from an artsy background. STEM. I'm a STEM guy. But I do really enjoy watching films, and it's something I've been doing a lot over the past couple of years, particularly horror films. I think horror is like a really interesting genre because you get to explore. If you're okay with like sitting in the awfulness for a bit, usually by the end of the film you can feel fine, or at least like concluded, like some sort of point was made. And usually the point's really interesting, and they've explored something like that is interesting that could only really be explored through horror, particularly a lot of queer stuff, to be honest. Like I think that's why it's kind of cool. But I'd like been putting off Martyrs for years because I'd heard that it was really awful and really intense, and like so had my friend that I watched it with. Even between the two of us, we'd been like, we should watch Martyrs sometime, and it took us ages to do it. And last time we finally did it, and basically, I think it was fine. Like it was, and that's why I thought I'd have a go of talking about it because it's a film that I've heard a lot about. And when I went to look, as I kind of enjoy reading other people's opinions. I love reviews. I don't take them as gospel, but I think it's interesting to witness the conversation that's been had about a film. And I've often thought that like I'm actually starting to get this film stuff enough that I could maybe start vocalizing my thoughts because I think so. I thought, why not? Let's give it a go on this one because I put it off for so long because I thought it was going to be so intense, and I really was fine. I was fine. I was fine. I appreciate others may not be fine with it. In particular, if you're a woman, I could imagine it'd be a lot harder to watch because of the awfulness that is suffered by women. But I think what me and my friend were talking about afterwards was that it was like very much a film. Like it was a movie, like a proper movie. That what I mean by that is that like it was a film, like it was theatrical, it was actors. I was never like so lost in the narrative and like the acting and the effects that I like believed this wasn't a work of fiction and therefore something that I could like keep a distance with while watching it. Compared to some other films that have like really got me to my core and like really disturbed me or like made me think about it for ages. Martyrs, I was kind of like, okay. Like, also because I think the plot was good. Well, I think the plot was good in the first half, and then I kind of got lost in the second half. Not as in I couldn't follow the plot, but as in I found it a bit boring. Um, and so I thought I'd just have a little bit of a discussion about that because with the word martyr, what this film did do for me is it made me really think about like what is a martyr, like what is like the definition of a martyr, because you can't tell whether it's a good or a bad thing, and I think that's because it's not. Martyrdom is something that you suffer. Like it's not like glorious or good. It's like this awful thing that people sometimes are put in positions that they like have to do it, and that's horrific. And I think the first half of this film is exploring what it's like to be a martyr like without a cause. So you have like the core personality to like push through the awfulness, but you're not actually like in the awfulness. You're just like trying to help everyone who's in awfulness, and like actually how sometimes that's not useful when you're trying to like put yourself in that situation. It like, should it be you that's trying to save this situation? Because so Anna, the one who is the martyr, at the end of the day, like she has her friend Lucy. Lucy's goes into this family, kills them all, even the kids, womp womp, and then Anna's like there to help. She probably wouldn't have done that. Lucy probably wouldn't have done that without Anna being there because it's established that she was like they are ready to receive a call because she was going to stake them out, but she's actually just gone and killed them all because Lucy believes that these people were the people who captured her and tortured her, which you've seen a glimpse of at the beginning of the film before this happens. And then Anna goes to try and help, isn't really doing a good job of helping. She's sort of there, but like it's a mess. The whole thing's a mess. And then the mum ends up being alive, like the mum who was shot, and then she tries to help the mum who's in this awfulness, but in a pretty bad way. I mean, sorry, like, yeah, like she's under the stress of like being around a bunch of shot bodies, so like, you know, I get it. But like she wasn't even really gonna help her. She was like, okay, like I'm gonna get you to the forest and then you're on your own. And I'm like, she has been shot in the torso by a shotgun at like a meter's range. It's a miracle that she's even alive. If you think that getting her to the forest is going to do anything, then you're an idiot. But in the process of doing that, Lucy sees that she's still alive. And then Lucy's like, you never believed me. I'm so sad. Killing them isn't helping me. No one believes me. I'm going to end it. She kills herself. Tough. Awful. Yes. But what that means is that like Anna's sort of just been there trying to help and trying to be a martyr. And it's just like not actually useful if you like don't have a cause behind it. And then in the second half of the movie, you find out that like basically she was right. Lucy was right. Like these people were the people that tortured her. They have other people in their basement, and then like the top dogs come back and capture Anna, and they're like, "You're going to be in the basement." Because she couldn't stop helping and being in the house. It's like, why are you trying to be the one to help? Why can't you call literally anyone else to help? Why did it have to be you? But anyway, she ends up in this situation. And then this is when the film I started to get a bit bored. Not in a bad way. Like I still enjoyed the film, finished it, and it made me want to talk about it this much. So it was like a good film. But like the plot started to like peter out for me a bit, because it was talking about like these rich people trying to like find out what happens after death, and they can do this by like making people get as close to death as possible by like torturing them for ages. And there's sort of like this montage of her just getting tortured, which is horrific. And like I think that's when the worst part of the film actually is, which is when, for me anyway, what I found the hardest bit to watch was just like the man beating her up. There's all these other dramatic bits, and like even the shotguns earlier on, and then later on she gets her entire skin removed, and like at that point I'm like, that's just like camp. It's like gone so far beyond reality, like, you know, like I think that's why I didn't find it that hard to watch, because it's just like, what, you know. But whereas like it's so real, the idea that like at the end of the day she's just like a woman trapped in a room, and this man just comes and like beats her up, and that was really awful to see. Like that was a bit that disturbed me the most, probably because it's the most realistic part of it. But obviously I can understand if people find other bits more horrific and blah 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 blah. Like I'm not trying to say this is a definitive take, but I didn't find it very engaging, because I guess it's just sort of like showing awfulness, and you're meant to sit in the awfulness. But I just didn't really engage with like the logic or like the desire behind it of these rich people to want to know what happens after death. And I think that's just because on a personal level, I've never really cared about that. I was raised atheist, and so I think like I'm not against an afterlife. Like I believe that stuff can happen after. I believe that we don't know what happens after death, and I'm open to it to be anything, but in a pretty neutral way. I think my brain just like, I just don't believe that there's anything bad or necessarily good. I could believe something happens, but I don't think it would be like, I just like can't, I don't know. I just find it bored. My brain switches off in like a I'm bored way, because it's like, well, it could be anything. So it's like, who cares? Like there's literally no way we can ever find out. I guess maybe if you had confirmation and enough money and you heard that this is a way to find out and you're bored, super capitalist, maybe that's why you'd pursue it. I don't know, it just like, I just sort of disengaged with that element of it, because I was actually pretty engaged with the plot before. It's sort of like looking at like trauma and like her, like what it means to suffer for other people and to like give yourself up for someone else. And then like, it's just like a bunch of torture, and then at the end she does achieve martyrdom, I guess. Like, I don't know. Am I like, basically what I thought I had achieved by putting this out there to see if anyone ever watched this. Because first of all, I wanted to start just talking about films because I think they're interesting. I thought it'd be cool to just have a go at seeing what it's like to talk about a film into the ether and see if anyone has any other takes beyond my friends. But like, I think what I found odd about this film was that it was neither the most terrific thing I'd ever seen. It didn't make me feel awful afterwards. I didn't like feel super bleak about it like I know a lot of people have. And it's not like that doesn't happen to me. There's plenty of films I've watched where I've been like at the end like, oh my god, that was so rough. That was awful. Like blah 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 blah. I cry. I've cried at films and stuff like that. But yeah, I just like didn't feel that engaged in it. And I don't think that the horror was that bad. I think it was justified for what it was exploring. So like the torture and stuff like that was bad, but it wasn't like, it was still just acting. Like I was very aware that it was like acting. And so I think maybe like that just sort of like kept a distance away from me from it, from like engaging in like how awful it was meant to be. And also I got a bit disengaged by the plot at the end. So overall I thought it was fine. Like, I think that was what I was just a bit shocked about. Like, I'm not going to remember it as, like, one of the worst films I've ever seen, as in, like, it made me feel awful. And it also wasn't the most interesting plot ever, and I don't think it said super... It didn't, like, inspire me to think that deeply about, like, martyrdom. I mean, I guess it did. Like, I have been thinking about it a lot, but, like, not in, like, more in the context of, like, I was like, this was made in 2008, and the word martyr, for me, I think, maybe I mean, I was 10 in 2008, but, like, given the way that we see war and, like, awful things that happen in the real world on the internet in 2026, January 2026, when I'm recording this, what I was actually more left thinking was like, what was the inspiration behind the point they were trying to make in 2008? What was motivating the people that were acting in it and like writing it and directing it and things like that, compared to like, not to be bleak, but like, you know, we all have social media and the internet, and you see like actual children getting killed and stuff online now. And I just don't think that was happening in 2008. Maybe it was, and I was just a saved 10-year-old, but like that's what it made me think about more, which I guess is good that it made me think like that, but it just wasn't, it was just fine, I think, at the end of the day. And I thought that was interesting, that I thought it was just fine. So I thought I'd maybe talk about it, sure. But yeah, if anyone ever sees this, I'd be curious to know if you had a similar reaction, or if you think I'm like really missing something that's like really incredible about it. Because it'd be cool if it was incredible, because I'd be able to watch it again. I didn't think it was that horrific, but like yeah, I thought it was just fine.